Let's go straight to Lucas Tomlinson with more on those tariffs imposed while we were all sleeping. Good morning, Lucas.
Well, good early morning, Carly and Todd. It's official. The tariffs on all steel and aluminum products go into effect today. It's a 25% tariff or tax the Trump administration says will create more jobs at home. The European Union has announced retaliatory measures. President Trump says these tariffs are just the beginning and could increase.
They don't want to pay 25% or whatever it may be. It may go up higher, maybe go up higher. Look, the higher it goes, the more likely it is they're going to build. And ultimately, the biggest win is not the tariff. That's a big win. That's a lot of money. But the biggest win is if they move into our country and produce jobs. That's a bigger win than the tariffs themselves.
Trump's Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick will meet with Ontario Premier Doug Ford tomorrow to discuss a new trade agreement. The meeting comes after Ford apologized to the American people after suspending a 25% tax on electricity exports to the U.S. after Trump threatened additional tariffs on Canadian aluminum and steel. Here's Ford and Lutnick ahead of their meeting.
I thought this was the right decision. They understand how serious we are. We have both agreed, let cooler heads prevail. We need to sit down and move this forward.
When you're negotiating with someone and they're not paying attention and they're disagreeing, the president, who's the best deal maker ever to sit in that chair, is going to say, here's my response. And then all of a sudden, shockingly, they respond.
Now, today, President Trump will welcome Ireland's prime minister at the White House. Today, he's the first European leader to visit the White House since Ukraine's president visited the Oval Office. Now, the Irish government has been a fierce critic of Israel and led the International Criminal Court case against Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, leading the Israeli government to close its embassy in Dublin, guys. So, Carly, maybe keep that body language expert around for this meeting in the Oval Office.
It could be very beneficial. Lucas Tomlinson live for us in Washington. Lucas, thank you so much.
With that, let's bring in Fox News columnist and contributor Liz Peek. Liz, all these foreign leaders talk tough. They saber rattle, wave their fists in the air, say, we're going to come after America. But then they cave to Trump in the end, sometimes like mere hours after they've stuck their chest out and gotten all brave. Isn't that proof that these Trump's tariff will work to achieve his foreign policy goals?
What it really is proof of is that we have an incredibly unbalanced trade situation. In other words, we have a huge import trade deficit, have been in that situation for a very long time, and that is one of the things that Trump is hoping to rectify. Also, we're paying what? We're getting $90 billion a year in tariffs from other countries. We're paying hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs to other countries. So he wants to level the playing field. I think that is a big part of it, and I think he's going to continue for that reason. The second thing is he wants the revenues. He wants to lower taxes and spur manufacturing coming home. And here's the thing that really nobody's talking about. In the past, this would have been an impossible quest, right? Manufacturing's gone down for 22 months in a row up until Trump was elected, and then it began to inch higher. But why have we lost so many manufacturing jobs? Partly because our labor rates are so high compared to Mexico, compared to China. I mean, there's a reason American corporations sent jobs overseas. It's not just tariffs, which are certainly not helping. But now what's happening with AI and this tremendous explosion in technology, we're going to be making more here in the United States at lower cost. So I think that's a tremendously pivotal element in this argument that no one really is talking about, and they should be, because when you're manufacturing cars or widgets or washing machines, boy, does AI help bring down the number of employees I mean, it's not great for workers, but even so, we will be adding jobs, just not as many per unit of output as we used to, probably.
So the big news overnight is the 25% tariff that went into effect on steel and aluminum, not just with Canada, but across the board with all of our trading partners. People hear that, they say that prices are going to go up. What will the impact of that be?
It could be, as Trump has acknowledged, that there will be some minor inflationary aspect of that. Look, what he is doing is short-term pain for long-term gain. And he was totally right. I think one of the most powerful things he said recently was, we are working in this country quarter to quarter. And if you ever have talked to a Chinese businessman or politician, they literally do look 100 years ahead. Wall Street always says, oh, this is terrible. We have to have a long-term view. Now we're taking a long-term view and they're going nuts. So there may be some bump up in inflation, but I also think over the next year, we're going to see trade deals For example, we should have a trade deal with the UK. There's no reason why they should be tariffing our products and we should be tariffing theirs, right? That seems like a layup. And my guess is, hopefully, over the next year, we're going to negotiate down some of these tariffs in return for better treatment for U.S. companies.
Well, the USMCA, sorry, Todd, trade deal was just announced that it's going to be renegotiated.
It was scheduled to be.
Yeah, but that could lead to some stability here.
Absolutely. I mean, if we begin to, for example, attack the tariffs that Canada still puts, even with the USMCA, on American goods, that should be a positive thing going forward.
I'm really glad you mentioned the markets and the short-term view that we now take in the United States, because these CEOs are under pressure basically daily. If the stock dips, people are like, oh, that CEO, are they doing a good job? And that has created really an unfortunate situation for the market where it's basically day trading. And you can't really have that. So will the markets eventually come to realize what Trump is doing with tariffs, or will the sell-off continue because they just can't deal with short-term uncertainty?
Well, the sell-off, I think, will not continue for very long because our economy is in very good shape. Corporate earnings are in very good shape. Look, CEOs came into this year, and as of a month into the year, they were the most confident they've been in 3 years. Why? Because they believe in Trump's deregulation. They know he's going to work very hard, and Republicans are on the hook to lower corporate taxes, and I think that's in the cards. But just generally speaking, after 4 years of a Biden White House, where you had this tsunami of new rules and regulations, all by AutoPen, coming out and impacting corporate profits. I think this is a very welcome turnaround. So, look, I think markets will get used to this. And by the way, there's some pretty good news things out here, right? We may have a ceasefire in Ukraine. That's got to be positive, not just for our markets, but for Europe. I mean, that's a big deal for everybody. So I think there are things that are coming out. We'll see what the CPI looks like. Don't lose track of the fact that energy prices are down, gasoline 9% versus last year. That's pretty powerful. So, and egg prices are even
Eggs
coming
are coming
down.
down.
And you know what?
Exactly.
The president also did his part to spur the economy by buying that red Tesla outside the White House yesterday.
Yes,
It's another conversation
somehow
entirely.
when the market's crashing, I always go out and spend money. I mean, it's like it's
Really?
a terrible impulse, impulse. But hopefully everybody does
I knew
that.
I liked you, Liz. Thank you so much for joining us. Great
Thanks for
insight there.
having me.